we're coming back to you live from our rooms. I'm Zach.
And I'm Sean. Wow.
You like that? You like
I
that?
kind of do. That's kind of special.
Look forward to the ending of this one. It's beautiful.
It's like that is the sad theme from One Punch Man.
Oh, is it from One Punch Man?
Yeah, man.
I didn't even recognize. I've seen One Punch Man, but it's been a while. So.
Yeah. Just like every time, like it's kind of like the low down vibe. He's like walking home with his groceries or whatever. It's just like it's just a guitar. Doo, 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 doo. It's really lovely.
I should
honestly,
watch
but-
that again.
Oh,
It's
man.
been a while.
One Punch Man's fun. Indeed.
It's a good time. It's a good time.
How was writing a final paper, Zach?
Bro. This week has been something else. Let me start from the beginning for you.
Please.
So
I'm here for.
Thursday I had a final paper due in a different class, as well as a group presentation, which we had to take up the whole hour 15 minutes of class with it. And so
Cool.
that paper, yeah. I hadn't, keep in mind, I hadn't done any of this.
Yeah.
So I woke up really early Thursday. I spent like 5 hours just like blasting out this essay. It was like a 6-7 page essay. It took me a while because I had to do research for it, which
Yeah.
sucked. And then I went
Yeah.
straight into. I didn't quite finish it before class, so then I went straight into my group presentation. And we did that for the whole class period. It went well. It was fine, but I had been preparing for that on Tuesday and Wednesday. So that ends, and I jump straight back into my paper, and I finish it up, and I have like 20 minutes before I have to leave to work. And so I like run to the kitchen, I make some ramen, I get ready, I run off to work. I only had a ramen that day, basically. It was great. And then today I woke up, and I've been working on my final paper, which I just finished like 10 minutes ago, and I've been working on that all day.
Congrats. Holy crap.
That's been my last 2 days.
Bruh. I'm sorry. That sucks.
I can't say. I mean, it's my fault for procrastinating so much, but it's interesting because I had this thought, and like as I finished both of them, and I'm very aware that these essays aren't my best work by any means, but at the same time, I think they are better than what my best work was starting college. So in a way, I'm okay with it.
Wow. Interesting perspective to take.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, that's my day. How's it going for you, Sean?
Well, unlike you,
You were responsible and did your things
No.
on time. Oh.
I was gonna say I finished my nihilism class, and it caused me to reflect. Well, not finished. I still had to write the final, but
Right.
we had our final class period, and it caused me to reflect not only on the class itself, but on my college time in college. And I was like, it is fitting that my final class in all of college was a nihilism class because nothing I did in college mattered. So that's just those intrusive thoughts, though, man. You can't.
Yeah. And I'm so glad we both came out of college with such different perspectives. I'm like, yeah, my good enough is better than my best was originally, and you're like, man, everything was pointless.
This was all bullcrap.
That's so perfect.
There's something because man, I don't know what it was about the final class period of nihilism, but it's the class that it wasn't the most emotionally like sad that any of the class periods made me. There was one others that made me sadder or madder or left me feeling more energized because of the discussion. Like it wasn't the most charged emotionally by any means in any direction, but it was the one that it felt like so bittersweet somehow. Because I just I left, and his final thing for us was he read this from this author, and it was just like it's a book called The Lighthouse. I can't remember the author's name. I was gonna look up the book. We didn't read it. It was just something he was reading to us.
Right.
And it was just like this lady was describing how she was sitting at her in her home, like knitting. She could hear her children like getting ready for bed. She was looking at the fire. She looked out at the lighthouse and contemplated how the light drew people to it. And it just like it ended with, and it's just been echoing in my mind since then. It is enough. It is enough. And so it was just like it was like this moment of like, okay, like I don't know if I had any grand like thing happen in college, you know? I don't know if I had any, but like maybe it's just maybe this is enough. Maybe that's okay. You know what I mean? Anyways. that's
I really
that's
like
neither here nor there.
that. I really
Yeah.
So there's this quote hanging on someone's wall at work. And it was like it just kind of reminded me that it's like I think it says like, let whatever you do today be enough. And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I should listen to that quote more often. I don't. But that's cool. I like that. Speaking of college, Sean, I have a I have a topic for you today. You already know what the topic is. Calm down. I teased it to you freaking last time with Spicy Nuggs. Now that you've had so much time to ponder about it, I will re-ask the question. Oh my. Oh! So, for the audience, my question to Sean was, well, let me preface by saying, I feel like a lot of people go through college and they're like, oh yeah, I ended up studying engineering, and then like halfway through my college career, I had to do this stupid paper for this class, but then like they find that I actually really enjoyed that topic, and then like that changed their whole like life course, and they ended up going into a completely different major, and they've been studying that for like the rest of their lives for the last 25 years or whatever. And I don't necessarily, I'm not asking for anything on that level, but my question to Sean was, is there something in college that has like sparked your interest, and it's something, but like it's something you never would have come to originally, and what is that thing? Now, Sean, take it away.
Yeah. well, thank you very much, Zach. I'm out here. Oh.
Keep going. Keep going.
Ooh, I was like so close to just grabbing my mic and starting to walk around my room here, just being like, this is how we think. Anyway.
Just gets up, does a TED talk.
Change.
Change.
It's what we think it is.
Whoa.
That the way we change affects us, but really, isn't change just the loose coins in our pockets? All right. So,
well, as a resident expert on change,
yeah.
sorry.
I'm 1,000,000% made that joke about change before, anyways. But it's fine. No one remembers at this point.
I didn't remember it, so.
Based on how I've been uploading these episodes, no one's ever going to hear this video. So.
Perfect. You think about them anyways.
Yeah, so I would say, and it feels pretty obvious at this point, but I would say that, I mean, I went into college completely not knowing what I was doing.
Right.
Which I think is pretty common. Just no one likes to say it because it makes you feel
Yeah.
directional. Right. And I'd say psychology was actually like the first, like, oh, well, this actually seems interesting. Let's see what a Psych 1010 class is like. And then I was like, oh, there's some cool stuff in here. Right. So I'd say that was the first one. And, you know, that's what I'm majoring in. But the second one was like 1,000,000,000% philosophy. And it was 1,000,000,000% Eastern religions leading into this nihilism class. And not only that, but like just like Spicy Nuggs, which sounds crazy to say, was part of like how I think I got there. It's just like because I remember part of my reasoning in my mind for going into psychology was like, okay, you don't know that many things, but you seem interested in psychology, And the idea of helping people is good because you like on your mission, that's what you did. Your favorite things were sitting down and being able to talk to someone who actually wanted to work with you, right? That's
Right.
similar, not the same thing, but similar, right? In my mind, it connected, right? And now that I'm like at the end and I've taken a whole like 4 philosophy classes, if you count uh, ethics and values, um, um, I think I've come to realize that this sounds so. This makes me sound like a bad person, but that's fine. It's not necessarily that I liked helping people, but more that I just liked having in-depth conversations one-on-one
Mm,
with people
okay.
about
Okay.
topics that don't normally breach the surface in everyday conversation, right?
Right.
Um, not that I dislike helping people,
Yeah,
but you get what I'm
forget
saying.
that. Oh man.
Anyways, this is all about us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You tell him.
What about you, Zach?
So, it's interesting because my start to college was like the complete opposite. Where you had like no direction, I had one goal. My
Okay.
goal was to simply graduate college so I could go to Japan. So
Mm,
that was
yeah.
it. Like my major was not very um what's the word? Like I wasn't very excited about the major or anything. It was just a means to the end.
Right.
Um, and it was something that I thought would work somewhat well with what I was going to be doing with communication, and teaching, right? So like I was just like, yeah, it's good enough. I've heard the communication major isn't like super crazy hard, so whatever. I'll jump into it.
Yeah.
Um, and I've had I feel like there's 3 things really that have like really stood out to me. That I don't think I would have come to originally that like I just find that I really enjoy. And one of them is actually the same as yours. Is it's philosophy. Um,
Hmm.
I've always like enjoyed like philosophical questions and things, but like actually like really going into depth and like doing readings I never would have done, especially like in my current philosophy class and our Eastern religions class from last semester. Like there were so many readings like if I was not assigned to do them, I would not have made it through. But afterwards, being able to dive into such a deep discussion of this philosophy, like I find that so fascinating.
You were able to dive right in, man. You know what?
I was able to dive right into it.
Just dive right
Yeah.
in.
But yeah, I like even to go as far as to say, I think in like a parallel universe, I think I would may have majored in philosophy. Like that would probably be like my other major
Mhm.
if I was to go back. Um, and then interestingly enough, the second one I have is actually just language in general, especially
Yeah.
like foreign languages. Um, I as much as I complained about my Japanese classes, like during while I was taking them, like there's something about like learning a language that I find fascinating because
Mm.
it gives you like, it's not just learning like new sounds and new words. It's like I feel like language and culture go so hand in hand. Like by understanding a language, you like get to learn more about the culture in depth, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my third one is just like interest and fascination with different cultures in general, and specifically like in intercultural dialogue and things like that,
Mm.
like how you communicate interculturally. And I've done a few papers on that, and I still find it fascinating, which is interesting because I feel like papers somehow have a way of like making an interesting topic absolutely dreadful.
Yeah.
But so like those are the big
Well,
3 for me. But
yeah. I think, there's something to be said. I feel like I hear when anyone talks about college, right? I feel like what I hear is complaints about the classes you don't want to take but have to, right?
yes, yep,
And I think there's very valid reasoning for not wanting to take those classes. I'm not saying that people have to be like okay with it by any means, because I think there's totally like you're paying money, but you're still being required to do specific things that don't necessarily relate to what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, and this like traces back to so long ago when we talked about how like well when you told me that like universities were initially all about seeking truth, right? I
Mm. I think I
I
learned that in
think
my philosophy 1010 class. So
I I think like the fact that college, and I feel bad because the phrase I'm about to use is exactly the phrase you used, but like the fact that college has become a means to an end is
mm,
kind of sad to me in some
yeah.
ways. Not that it has to be like some grandiose exploration of like knowledge, because I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to get into a career that you know you want to get into, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think if you only focus on that, there's a lot you can miss out on. Um,
I really like that. Like I also agree. Like I think it's okay for college to be like the way to get specific jobs. Like I don't think like that is by any means negative, but I feel like it's become such the focus of
hmm
college. It's like we're going to get you through this program so you can go apply for this type of job, right?
yeah,
Where I really wish it did just focus more on the knowledge itself and
yeah.
leaving it at that. One thing I've actually like, I've been thinking about my classes, all the classes I've taken so far, and I've never had a class that besides like maybe my English 2010 class where we just had to like write a big essay and that was like the whole class itself. Is
hmm
I feel like every class is like here is all these things that you have to memorize and here's why it's important, blah blah blah, and then you take the test at the end of the semester and you pass the class. I
hmm
would love a class that like builds off of these other classes where it's like, okay, now that you have all the prior knowledge of this topic that you need, go out and like form your own opinions within this area and like make your own work.
mm
And I get that like that's kind of like going more into a master's and things like that, but I feel like there could be like prior experience like classes like this like that gives you a foot in the door to going into like a different program like that. Because I would love to like just go into a class like based on philosophy or something like, hey, we just talked about Eastern philosophy all last semester. Now it's like time to like form your own opinions on it or something. Like, I think that would be really cool. But
Instead of just presenting more knowledge, a class that helps you think critically about what you've learned. Is that kind of what you're
yeah,
saying?
yeah, and like being able to formulate like I feel like the way we show that we've learned something in college is through a test or through some sort of group presentation or a discussion post, and you are just analyzing and and like comparing it to the other points of the class, and
Yeah.
rather than being like, okay, I've learned. This is what I've learned. Here are my actual thoughts on what I've learned.
You know something interesting? Talking about tests and how we show what we've learned through classes. Something interesting that I've known about myself for a long time is that often what I will do as I approach a class is I will get a read on the professor or the teacher in high school, and I will figure out what they want to hear, and then
Yes.
I will frame everything I write in the class around that,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which gets you the grade. But I don't think it does what you're suggesting, right? Where it actually helps you like push forward further. Because like how many freaking discussion posts have I done where I'm just like there's the requirement, I'm gonna fill the requirement and I'm gonna move forward,
And how many of
right?
those have you retained, right? Like,
Exactly. The only freaking discussion post I can remember from this semester is the one where I literally told my professor that I didn't think college cared about human reasoning as much as just getting people on a career path. Like that's that's the only, and we're talking about that right now. Like you know, which I don't know the right solution for that, because a standardized way to measure people's learning is, I think, important, because it's the only way to organize something like a class, because that's 30 to 40 kids or people, right? And this single professor has to go through everything they do and make sure it all looks correct. And they probably have like 3 to 5 classes that they teach, right? So that's
Yeah.
so much work that they have to do on their end, let alone what we're doing. So the standardized way makes a lot of sense from that grand opening, a larger scale point of view. But I think it loses, like, freaking, how many times have we come to Spicy Nugs and been like, this is what I learned in class recently. It was very interesting. Let's talk about that. And I feel like we gain and I retain more because of this conversation we're having, just because we're excited about it. And like, wouldn't it be crazy if like I could just send them like a clip from Spice Nugs and be, look, I learned, like I had a real discussion with someone. Not that I really want to do that, but like, just as an example, like, can't I, um, what if there was other ways to fulfill an assignment other than exactly like writing a paper, taking a quiz, taking a test, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like from a practicality standpoint, it makes complete sense why classes are set up the way they are. But from an actual perspective of, is this the best way someone can show their knowledge and what they've learned? I don't think it is at all. Because I feel like part of retention is, and this like absolutely goes back to learning Japanese. What you have to use the knowledge that you've gained to retain it. And I feel like so many times I have crammed for a test or something, and I've taken the test, and an hour later I could not tell you the answers to the same questions I just answered.
Yeah.
Like, there's no retention there. That is just me being just short term memory, being like, these are the answers they expect from me or what they want from me. Whereas I feel like maybe a solution to this, and this is like just off the top of my head, so keep that in mind. But like, I do feel there is a place for classes as they are now. I feel like that should be the starting place when it comes to knowledge. It should be like, here are the different theories. Let's memorize these different theories. These are the important figures within this area. But then after you've learned all that fundamental knowledge, to like I feel like the next class above that should be, okay, now apply that knowledge however you want, and like the teacher should be there to help guide you in that journey. I feel like that would make learning so much more engaging for me, and I would actually be engaged in those classes that are just talking about theory stuff, because I'm like, okay, but like I have a thought on this, but with the way the class is set up, I'll never get to like talk about this. Or but with the other example, it's like, okay, this, like, I'm having all these thoughts while going over these readings and opinions, and then later on, I know if I knew I would get to like formulate that all into like a personal work, I would be a lot more engaged, I think. But it's just a thought.
I'm I'm hmm. I'm a little I'm thinking about probably the class in college that I can remember right now. For me was the number one, just like, remember as long as you need to and then forget it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think for me, it was split between my brain and behavior class and my behavioral neuroscience class, which were essentially covering the same thing, just one more in depth, right? It's focusing on how chemicals travel through the brain, how electrical impulses are sent, the actual functionality of the brain itself.
Okay.
Something that I highly struggle with, because, again, like I like philosophy. I'm much more interested in classes like psychology of evil or personality theory, where we're talking about theory from a standpoint
rather than more
not
the science perspective.
exactly right. So that class, those two classes were such just slogs for me, so difficult. And why did my can you hear me?
Yeah, you're fine. Technical interference, everybody.
My
We'll be back to you
my
momentarily.
my monitor screen turned off, and I was like, oh no. But it's fine.
Just goes into sleep mode.
um, okay, so here's what I'll say, because I like what you're saying about give us the information, then give us a way to apply it, right? But I think about those classes and how um, just everything is so much rote memorization. There's no easy way, really. I mean, they give you different ways to do it, but like there's no real easy way to memorize the names of parts of the brain because it's just
You
like
just have to do it, right?
it's imaginary areas we've drawn so that we can label them as like, okay, this part focuses on this type of functionality, blah 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 blah, right?
Yeah.
And that rote memorization, I think we're both in fields where we don't necessarily have to lean into those as much because I think we're both, well, I mean, psychology is kind of arguable. I think also, but I think communications, certainly it's like, it's less about rote memorization and more about understanding the theory behind things, right?
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
so I wonder about fields like biology and chemistry and engineering
Mm.
and how easily, because like for us, we're like, okay, give us the information and now we can have a real discussion about it. For them, how do you make that applicable to them?
That's a
You
good
got
point.
to get them building things. You got to get them in labs. Which I think they do, but obviously I'm not in the field, so I don't know specifically. So I don't know. I just wonder about that and how it would apply in that
Well, I
way. But
feel like maybe the application can be seen in like I've never done a lab in college, and I'm
mm,
sure a biology major has done hundreds of labs by now. Um,
yeah,
and I feel like that is almost like whereas our our form would be showing like being like, hey, here is this topic that I chose that like that relates to this theory we're learning about, and like this is how I show my understanding. The way like the more science focused majors could do that is through the lab. Like those lab courses would be after learning, like after memorizing everything, right? I don't know, but
mm,
that's a good point. I do feel like that opinion is definitely inspired by the classes I've taken and have had to take. So
yeah.
I don't have like anyone
Obviously,
else's experience to base off of though. So
you know what that means is like you're just gonna have to go back into college after you
I
graduate
just
and
have to
do a
do it
different
again.
major. Yeah, you just got to do every single major to see what they're all like. That way you can have an unbiased opinion and know exactly how to help all of them.
Then that way, whatever I say is basically law.
Uh-huh. I am the man with all of the bachelor degrees.
I have all the knowledge.
Every single one of them.
Bow down, worship me, mortal.
You want to know how to make college better, you idiot?
First off, discussion posts gone.
Oh my gosh, dude. Oh my
Easiest
gosh.
change. I've only gone through one major.
Literally, today I was working on my two final assignments for my American Popular Music class, and one of them was a discussion post, and I read it for 5 seconds, looked at what I had to do, and said, 15 points isn't worth this. And I just said no.
That's awesome. It's funny because like there's been times where like the discussion post has been like watch this 20-minute video and then like comment
Right.
on it and then but the teacher has accidentally left the comments open so you can see other people's comments before actually replying yourself. And
Oh, and then you
I've been
just
like straight to the
this.
comment. What did you guys say? What did you guys say? All right, I'm going to now regurgitate this information in a different form, and hope it
Totally, man.
works.
Totally. Oh
Like,
my gosh. That's real. Oh my goodness gracious.
I could complain about discussion posts and group projects for eternity, so
Oh,
maybe
we
leave
have.
it at that.
We have.
Everyone else like
I'm
they're
pretty
talking
sure.
about this again.
I'm pretty sure 10%, at least 10% of Spicy Nugs is just us griping about one of those two things. Like,
And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way.
that's what makes it more special, you know? We can come and talk about the real stuff with each other. You know,
Like
that's how
discussion
good of friends we
posts.
are. Yeah, discussion posts. Doesn't get realer than that.
That's my true Ryle. Discussion posts. Man.
Nothing gets me more except for maybe group projects.
Okay, now get a real Ryle. You gotta calm down there. You just have both of those words back to back.
Imagine a
Man.
group project that was based
That
around
involved
a
discussion
discussion
posts.
posts with your group.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
It sounds like literally my worst nightmare.
Wait, the question is, I feel like if it is showing how horrible discussion posts are, I'd be down. But if it's like showing the benefits of discussion posts or something, I'd be slamming my head into the wall probably for the next like eternity.
What are the benefits of discussion posts?
They waste your time. They fulfill some arbitrary standard that UVU has for group participation, and
I like that the
Need I
first
go
one you
on?
said wasn't a benefit. You just immediately said something that was not good.
yeah. That's because there's no benefits.
Let's go, baby.
Oh, well, that seemed like a perfect place to end it, Sean. I'm always down to rag on discussion posts.
I like that you had a question, right? You had a very interesting question about what's something we found very engaging from college that we didn't expect to find, and that led us into a talk about the efficacy of how the college, the structure of it is set up, and all of it was really just a lead up to us complaining about discussion posts and group projects. It was just a long map to get there.
Just like that previous episode about me talking about architecture, we just want to talk about castles.
100%.
This entire episode
And
was
you know
just
what
me
I-
getting to discussion posts.
In a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways. Sean. Well, that's it, friends. We'll never know the last words from Sean. And so,
Roadmap.
He's
A
back.
long roadmap. Oh no. Have I died? I'm back.
You died.
Did you-
You died.
Did you miss me?
I was devastated. You basically left us on a cliffhanger. You started your
Okay,
thought
here's
and then
here's
this
the
ended.
in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it's like can you still hear me?
Go for it.
Why? Of course, on the
a lot of
final
ways.
episode of the semester.
In a lot of ways. What, Sean?
Of course. In the final episode of the semester, this finally happens for real. You've got to be kidding me. You can hear me? Okay. Okay. Here it is. In a lot of ways, it's like your college career because your college time in college is a long, winding roadmap that is leading toward Japan. That's all it is.
Perfect. Thank you very much for the podcast. And,
Yeah.
thank you all so much for watching. I'm still Zach.
And I'm still shy.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Spicy Nuggs! Spicy Nuggs is our friend. Spicy Nuggs! Spicy Nuggs is our friend.
Fool.
Oh, hey, Sean, could you just
No.
redo that entire thing that just happened?
Probably not.
Okay, that's fine. He's doing it.